Okay. We can start now. Okay, so yeah, basically everything last time was just awful and confusing, and I got everything in a twist. So let's fix that and not do that. So I think the answer is interfaces. Yes, probably. So I think I need to yeah. So I don't really like what connection's doing. I think this interface is stupid. And furthermore, I don't like this, and I think this interface is stupid. And furthermore, I don't like this, and I think this should be an interface. And we should get rid of this generic typing because it's just awful and doesn't really work in Godot. And yep, it's probably going to be annoying and confusing and kind of difficult to do, but that's fine. So we should just remove this, right? Okay, all this stuff about types, like this should just be, shouldn't exist. Right, and I was thinking as well, so yeah, like we can look at everything which uses this code, right? Is a lot of things. A lot of it's just assembly stuff, but here, right, when we have this of type stuff, I mean, I think we can just go change this to be lists of different types for now. That's fine. We would find a way to connect it up, and then this is right, like this is of a specific type, right? And I was getting everything confused about how to keep this generic type here in this function, right? And still, you know, because I was like, if I remove the generic typing here, then how do I know what the type is? But I can just, it can just be stupid, right? I don't need to do this. I can just do output dot toggle, right? Like this new interface, which we're going to make in a second, right, can define this function, right? So each type can define how its connections are created, and that solves the issue we were having last time. So let's go back. Right, so yeah, I think that's kind of what I was trying to do here, and then kind of failed to do. Yeah. So I think, even though I kind of backed out of this, I think this is a good place to start. We should, so for one, we should do this, and it will tell us a million errors, and that's what we're gonna have to fix. Okay, and yeah. Right, in fact, this value, right, exactly the users of this class, of a specific type of this class, so for example, like df signal ball, don't need to know what the value is. They don't need to know what the type is. Okay, like because of how we're doing it, we're changing stuff. We're connecting signals, right? So the only thing that actually needs to be done is this. When the instance of this is like created, or in Godot terms, in the ready function, right? So we don't need right, like this, what I'm saying is this should all be moved to an interface, and that's fine, and it won't break anything. Okay, I don't know what this is for, let's get rid of it. Okay, go to df signal ball, and I'm just going to cut this for now, so I can have everything in one file and understand what's going on. Okay, so yep, it should. Let's just, I mean, basically this is just going to be iSignal now, so done. Okay. Right, like this stuff is going to be here, I think. So what we need to I mean, this is an interface, so we can't export it, which is kind of annoying, but that's fine. I think we can put this here. And now that does implement that. Perfect. Exactly, these values shouldn't be. Okay. Cool. And this might confuse actually. I'm going to change this to an action for now, right? And I don't think this needs to be a set, but this needing a type, I mean, I think it's fine. Maybe that will be an issue in a second, but this is a step in the right direction at least. Okay, let's get rid of this and let's do that. Okay, we don't need this initialize, that means nothing right now. Okay, and exactly, so we have ball. I think this is kind of an example of where dry kind of messes you up because, right, it just adds loads of bloat, like this equality compare thing, right? Whereas if I had implemented things with interfaces to start with, it would be fine. Okay. Okay, yeah, sure. Well, implement that for me, please. Okay, and yeah, I mean, just needs to be new, right? Oh, okay, yeah. Wait, so does this? I don't know what invoke does. That's a great question. Yeah, I don't know how. Oh, I don't know. Okay. I guess there's some like on value change.invoke. I know there's loads of different things. Does it tell me what those do though? I assume this kind of makes the I don't know. Because like surely this has to exist. Because I would expect this line just to do nothing if this is null, but it obviously doesn't do nothing. As we know from last stream. Okay. What don't we... Oh, okay, because it's not gap. Sure. Okay. So that's fine. And now I think it would be useful to... I mean, this... I guess now should also be an Arrow 3D, right? Must come before any interfaces, okay? Seems like a weird thing to enforce. Yeah. Right, is that what was happening anyway, right? Because yeah, before... Right, if we look at the diff for this file, beforehand, right, this was inheriting from Area 3D anyway, so that's, I believe, the correct thing to do. Okay, and we'll have to work out what's needed. Yeah, I think this is a way better way of doing it, because, I mean, maybe my naming is a bit suspicious here. I guess it can just be this now. It's not clashing with anything. Oh, no, that does. Okay, video stream. Right, okay. Because I think I realized last time that actually the behavior between all these different signals is kind of different. So I think an Array 3D makes a lot of sense. Okay. And yeah, I guess we can just copy paste this. It doesn't really need to do anything different for now. Apart from this, right, exactly, so we might need to add some more functions to the yeah, to the thing. We might need to add more functions to the interface because some behavior depends on signals being sent at runtime and some just depend on right? Only like things like the video stream only have to be changed when the connection is made or removed. So I think in a second we'll probably have to add some functions here of like connect and disconnect, right? That then Hackervision 3D can use, and that kind of scopes the things correctly compared to what I was doing last times, right? Scopes the behavior in the relevant classes rather than just all being in Hackervision. And I think we'll make the logic a little bit clearer of what's actually happening. Okay, so yeah, I think generally speaking, let's write a little summary of what this is doing, right? Like this is providing behavior for creating, for connecting and disconnecting signals, like let's call them DF signals, okay, without knowing anything about what the type of that signal is. Right? That's the, I've kind of capitalized type there, but I suppose if I'm going to do something like that. And this should be provides. Okay, so that's generally what we want that to do. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to comment this out. Okay, so I think that's fine. Let's remove that. And now we can grab this, right, and put it here, I suppose. Let's just call it the same thing so Godot doesn't freak out for now. And cut this here and call this like this. Oh, okay. And then exactly cut this back out. Okay, I know we've done that. Yeah, I suppose maybe I should probably just use side-by-side windows or something rather than doing what I did. But I like kind of drafting out code all in one file. I think it's kind of a nice way of drafting stuff. I don't know. It just feels nice to have everything in one file, organized. And then you kind of go, okay, this is the architecture I want, and then you move it onto the files. And it's kind of rewarding way to code stuff. Okay, now this is completely wrong, right? But like I said, nothing else other than yeah, exactly. So basically this whole thing won't have access to any implementers of iSignal anymore. So, but that's fine. Okay, let's go to Godot and rename DF signal as iSignal. Okay, and yeah, now let's leave it like that. Okay, we can get rid of that. Sure. Okay, so yeah, basically we're gonna have to move the logic here, but we're still gonna have to have some logic, I think, in Hackervision. So, right, because we need or actually maybe not. Depends. Kind of want to just be done with this. It's kind of boring working on this a million times and going, actually, that doesn't work. Right, ideally Hackervision should only be dealing with visuals. But it deals with much more than visuals at the moment, which is bad. And the main reason for that is this list, right? Which is what, a list of eye connections or something. But I was just thinking, I guess each maybe I just rename this. Oh, it did that thing. Okay, I was stupid. Let's get rid of DF signal and go to iSignal. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean, this could expose. I mean, it's going to need a few things, right? trying to work out whether I want to store all the connections within each instance of iSignal, or whether I want like a global list of all of the things. Oh, well, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, what is the point in this, right? It's doing something that I want it to do. Yes, okay. Yes, okay. Right? Like this behavior should be defined by the implementer of iSignal. Right? So yes, I think I will leave it here for now, but I almost definitely will consider not doing that. So, I mean, what calls this? Yeah, the things itself. It kind of would make sense to me, right? If this defined the toggled connection, right? And you just bypass this completely, and then so we'd have like output dot connect to input, right? And we'll just define it that always we have an output. You have to define an output that connects to an input, which we already have implemented in the raycast, but we can implement it in our actual behavior of our code. And then once we have that, what would be the advantage of that? then we can, then HackerVision. Yeah, and within that function, yes, okay. It can then call HackerVision to make the visuals. So what we should do is public void connect to iSignal input. Right? And I assume you can overload, maybe? I don't know. Can you overload functions? Well, we'll find out, I suppose. Okay. Right, can I change this to this? This is my question. No, I cannot. Well, I suppose that's fine. For now. I guess we just go. There we go. I guess we just do that, right? Let's be far too verbose here. Right? And our oh yeah, that is. No, I'll leave it down here. I'll leave it down here. Okay. Wait, hang on a second. What is using my I don't know. Wait, what? Okay. Oh no, that's just a lie. Okay, well. Okay. I don't know what that was. Where were we? Yes. Okay. Now we can yeah, I suppose this is kind of fine. Maybe I should be testing that this is an output, but that's fine. Who cares? I'm not allowed to do that. No. Okay. Oh, I guess I could just. Right. I could just move this outside. Nah, I'll leave it that for now. Okay, I think we are actually a lot closer than we feel to a working system. There's probably some weird stuff about it, but that's fine. So now, this, right? We're basically removing. We won't need any connections. We might need a very stripped down version of this if we want to store it. Have like a global list of all the visual connections. But anyway, who really cares? The point is for now that we only need this. Okay, so yeah, what we do here is... I didn't store this. What's original action? Oh, yeah. Right, and just make this private. Oh, can I overload this? I mean, I could use a variant. Could be dodgy about it. Okay, well, this is the output, right? I'm leaving this. Yeah, I might actually move these. No, it's fine. Okay. Wait, yeah, this is a way, kind of a silly way of doing it. I feel like I'm kind of reinventing the wheel here. There's probably like a canonical C# way to do what I'm doing, right? And like create and uncreate a signal consistently. But what, exactly, this should just be a function called disconnect, right? Which you run when you want to disconnect, right? Rather than, yeah, we can just have this as like a lambda function, which, is run, run this when you want to disconnect. Connect the signal. Right, okay, and we can just go like var, I don't know, a. Okay, I'll rename that in a second, it's awful. Okay, and we go this, okay, plus equal a. Right, private sub. Wait, this might not even need to be exposed in iSignal because we'll work that out in a second. Okay. Oh, I guess I can do like this or some stupid thing like that. Okay. Connection, call this like, I don't know, create connection. Okay, and now we can go back to Hackervision. Right, and create visuals, okay. Just go create behavior. Okay, create visuals, and then now we can actually do this. Right is like literally just the opposite of this. Okay. Okay. And now, exactly, now we don't have to do any try get freeing. Oh, this is so bad, much better. And we don't even need to store the connection in a list anywhere, in fact. And why did I not do this before? This is infinitely better. Use a local function. Sure. Wait, that's kind of... Does that remove some characters? Makes the blue things look blue. Yeah, okay. So now, yep. And now I guess we can, I mean, this should probably be private. Right, and we can just go public, void disconnect output. Okay, there will have to be some kind of thing. I might have to store a dictionary, right? Where for now everything's one-to-one. That's not true. That's not true. I will have to change this. This will have to be a dictionary because multiple things do this connecting output. Right? For example, a light switch can connect to infinitely many lights. So for now, I'll be simplistic and ignore that that's the case, but we'll have to come back in a second. Right? We just do disconnect, right? I can make this one line. Cool. Can you like null thing? No. Cool. Well, that seems to be fine. We can go back over here and get this, right? So yeah, it might still be useful to have like a connection class that encapsulates these things. But for now, I don't particularly care. Right, so yes, this is an O3D. Okay. This hopefully... Right, this... Well, it should be public. I'm pretty sure nothing's using... Oh, I suppose... I'm tempted just to remove that, but I won't do that for now. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do this, okay? And then go back and now just remove this. And just make a note to myself in notes. Right, like remove unnecessary connection logic from Hackervision 3D class. Cool. Okay. Should put that there. And after all of that, we have more errors. Nice. Maybe my use of this is not needed. It would be kind of nice if this was an extension class, to be honest. Because it would make it a bit... You'd have to use a field name, right? Which I can just do. That's amazing, yes. Okay. Right. You can just go this. Right, and now all of these thises, you just do that. Oh, and then you should be failing earlier than this, yes. This DF signal ball. There we go. Okay, and now we can just go input. Yes. Yes, okay. And now we can go output disconnect. Okay, cool. Oh, no. Yes, this should be output, right? Okay, I might change this in a second, but this feels a little bit more sensible to me. Because like, it's kind of, I don't know. Maybe that's stupid. This is definitely right though. This should be the inputs should be diffs, should be the relevant class that's being defined. And you should throw exceptions out before you even call this function, right? Okay. So you have this create connection. Okay. That's actually the line that creates the behavior. And you create the visuals, and then just deletes the behavior, deletes the visuals. And like I said earlier, well, I mean, I can just do that now, right? Right, so we can have a private dictionary that takes in what a df signable output. I'm aware this isn't allowed. And gives us back an action called disconnect. Okay. And what is it called? Like a disconnection map? Nope. Should be the inputs, right? Okay. Inputs and outputs, so backwards still. But I think that's just the way it is. So let me comment this out. These are inputs. Values are functions to be called when disconnecting this output from that input. Right? Okay, maybe that's a little verbose, but oh well. Okay, what's this? Nope, let's not do that for now. Okay, so actually what we do when we disconnect I think this is the same way to do it, right? You'd have to have a dictionary in the input or output, just defining a convention, right? You know, if you have a one-to-many relationship, you kind of have to do this, no? Maybe I'm being silly. Right? Maybe it makes sense to do it the other way because many outputs, so one output can connect to many inputs, but only one input can be connected to a given output. Yes. Wait, that's so true. So we can kind of bake that behavior in right now, right? Yeah, right? So actually, right now we can implement something which I thought would be like ages away, which is that if you try to connect an output to an input that already has a connection, you just override it, right? Can I see that going wrong? Maybe. Okay, let's think about that. So, would you ever want multiple things to go into one? Like, for example, would you want multiple light switches to control one light? Actually, kind of yes, right? It's kind of what a house does. It's quite nitty-gritty detail. Yeah, that's true. You kind of might want that, right? From a level designed perspective, it would be quite easy. It would be more simple to design like a complex level if you had that, right? And actually, yeah, that's very true. You might want, for example, if you have an alarm, right? You probably don't want one alarm per thing that's going to call the alarm. You might want, like, I don't know, 20 things going into one alarm. So actually, my analogy there is kind of wrong, right? An output could be given to many inputs, and an input could receive from multiple outputs? Yes. At least in theory. Maybe we'll decide against that in like 3 years' time when we actually get onto the gameplay. But for now, I think we should go ahead with this. Right? It doesn't matter which convention we stick to, but I'm just going to stick to outputs defining all the behavior for the connections, right? Maybe we can abstract this out into a connection class in a second, but we do need a map that uniquely identifies an input being connected to an output, or vice versa, equivalent, right? We have to have a way of disconnecting just one input-output pair rather than just being able to disconnect outputs from everything or inputs from everything, because they can be one-to-many, both of them, or many-to-one, right? However you want to look at it. So therefore, after that little bit of thinking, this is definitely the way to do it, okay? Well, this is a way to do it. So, let's remove that, and then we'll know what we're there. Right, we want disconnection map. Keys are the inputs. Okay. Cool. And now give me an expression body here. And what we want to do, right, is disconnect. Okay, I'll follow my convention, which I'm realizing is stupid, but maybe it'll be useful. What you want to do is you want to go, yeah, this is dot disconnection map, input, and just run it, right? Is that I just find C# so cool that you can write a line like this. Like, that makes sense to the compiler. And it makes sense to my brain. It's like so object-oriented. Like, this is the thing. Like, I find that cool. I don't know. Maybe that's me being a nerd. But I feel like this is so readable to me. And actually we're doing like an insanely complicated problem, as is evidenced by the fact it's taken like 3 streams to get anywhere. So yeah, I think this is cool. I think this is cool. Okay, what, yeah, you want, okay, sure, I can be read-only. So, we have defined the behavior for the DF signal ball. Okay, what don't you implement? Oh, okay. I'm going to ignore that for now. So, okay, we're somewhere. Now, actually, I'm not going to ignore that because that is the issue. Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I think we can kind of fix that by introducing the thing that was bad. I'm gonna do this. I don't know if it works. This T output to T input, right? Like, obviously I can write this, but is it gonna complain that connect output 2 has to be used with a type? Oh, okay. That's interesting. So you can't do that. Public static abstract? Like, holy keywords, brother. So we can't define an extension method in an interface. I'm trying to think what's logically equivalent and better, because there must be something. I guess we have to go back to throwing the errors inside the class. Right, if we want to have a... Yeah. But it's still going to error, right, when we do this. Oops, right, when we do this and this. Right? Get rid of abstracts completely unused. Right, so extension methods have to be defined in a non-generic static class. I'm trying to pass that in my brain. Okay, so yeah, my my thing was stupid, but we can fix that. This is just a notational thing, you know. Right, what's output dot done this. Oops, right, and then just remove, I don't know, put it here or something. Just to remind me of what I was trying to do. Okay, cool. The static methods can't be in interfaces. I suppose that makes sense. Maybe. I don't know. Probably a reason. Okay, now we have loads of unnecessary thises. Amazing. And yeah. Okay. And then it will say, but we can, right now we can do the thing, right? Like, is this allowed? So can I now write, like, if I have a public partial class, I don't know, A, which is an area 3D, okay, and then it's ready, can I do, like, I don't know, if I make a df signal ball, right, okay, obviously, this doesn't really do anything, but can I do this? And can I do... I can. That's nice. I suppose that makes sense. Right? I'm just trying to think why I'm surprised at that. Because... I suppose I'm surprised because... Yeah. I don't know. I suppose it makes sense. But, I just thought it would complain at me that I have to specify what T is before using this. But I suppose it's clever enough to know what I'm trying to do logically. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Wait, okay. That's like... It's actually... It shouldn't be that, right? It should be I signal of T. Is that allowed? If that's allowed, I'm very impressed. Wait, are you allowed to do like cyclic stuff? I assume not. No. I can't. Actually, this might be a nice way of doing it. Right? It has to be that. Oh, but then it has no... I think we have to cast it, right? Because you can't like... I'm kind of chasing this circular logic, right? That in order to implement the thing, I'm pretty sure right? Yeah, I suppose maybe you could kind of make sense logically that your interface can't reference any types that inherit from itself. Would make no sense, right? So I think in this case, I'm kind of okay with it. I think we just have to cast and check, and that's fine. Right, so we can get rid of this. We can get rid of this. And yep, this should be iSignal. Okay, and I'll just call this like input iSignal. Okay, and I'll just go if input iSignal is dfball, not signal input, right? Throw new not implemented exception, cool. And yeah, I suppose that is a way of doing it. Okay, cool, and there's no errors now in that. Perfect. So I think now we've kind of well separated the specific behavior for a given signal with that. So now we can do exactly the same thing. Actually, I'm going to copy this, right? Yeah, that should maybe be some. Oh, this will have to be the same thing, right? Okay. Okay, cool. And then iSignal will need to disconnect. Okay. And just rename this too, and that, there we go, done. I shouldn't be doing that, that's awful. Okay, okay, no, run these functions. Right, something like that. Okay, cool. Only thing is, I kind of don't like that the behavior's split between this line and this line. Right, this doesn't even create connection. Update value, right? Okay. So that makes sense. I think the initialization logic is still kind of going over my head. But that's fine. So this shouldn't be that. It should be a video stream, and the logic will actually be quite different here. Right, this on value changed basically has no meaning. Isn't needed at all. I don't think we need this behavior. So I think almost definitely I can do this. Okay. Now I think we can implement the things, right? And yeah, I think in a way we can maybe do this. I don't know. And yeah, now I'm thinking about it, I think the initialization is getting confusing because I haven't separated out outputs from inputs other than with an enum. So I think I should probably do that. But let's implement this thing. So, right, we need a if input is not df signal video stream input, and then let's just rename this to input iSignal. Okay, and now we do this. Cool. Cool. And yep, we're gonna need this again. I don't need that one. Okay, cool. Oops. So in this case, right, you might want multiple video streams being sent to given input. right? So it can be from outputs to inputs. It can be one to many. And it can be many to one. So we have to implement the same solution we had here, except our, right, I think this is going to be very useless in a second. Pretty sure we can change this to a sub viewport. Cool. Let's move this out the way so it looks a bit nicer. Okay. So what we want to do when we connect a signal, right, it's just a one-time thing. Yes. All we have to do, right, is we just have to say input.subviewport.value, equals value, right? This dot value. I'm going to remove all the thises from this. This is stupid that I have all of these. Let's remove all of them. Okay. Like that's it, right? And when we disconnect, we don't have to do anything fancy because the video stream doesn't send anything, right? The sending is encapsulated in the sub viewport for us. So you literally just say input to value is null, right? Maybe we should, right? Wait, yeah. So, right, like if I, actually a really good point. That does an error. Okay, maybe it's because VS Code isn't. Right, like that's allowed, but is default preferred? I don't know. Okay, but we can deref it. Yeah, basically that's all we're doing. Okay. That's it. Right? And believe anyway. And believe that's it. So, yep. So I think this has told us value change doesn't need to be implemented here. Okay, so we can get rid of that. And yep, I don't think we need any of this. In fact, let's get rid of this as well. Cool. That's literally all that a video stream encapsulates. I very much believe. Cool. Perfect. There is something else we have to do though. Okay, so if we want to yeah, I think this actually probably should be one-to-one. And if you want more video streams, you probably just have to make more nodes physically, and the monitor or the thing displaying the video stream should deal with that rather than a video stream being able to be composed of multiple video streams. That seems stupid. So, yeah, this should probably be a one connection, right? I'm going to write that here. Okay, so like input video streams to output video streams should probably be one-to-one, okay, rather than many to one, okay, or one to many. But I am not going to enforce that, right? All that would happen is that it just overwrites the previous one, right? And maybe later you want to, if input to value, actually, that's, okay. Input to value is not null, right? I'm just going to throw, I don't know, throw value exception. I suppose maybe we can make a new exception for this, right? I think I defined some exceptions actually. Like string. Cool. For the language, let's do that. let's say signal connection limit exception. You know what? I think that, you know what? I actually like that. Okay, cool. And what we can do is we can throw a new one of these and we can say, okay, you know, like video streams are one-to-one, yet the input trying to be connected to already has a live video feed being sent to it, you know, and then I'll write in developer speak, aka a non-null sub viewport reference. Okay. Okay. So that actually solves what I was just talking about there, right? This is kind of has to be one-to-one, right? So only one output can connect to a given input, but obviously, yeah, you can. Sorry, yeah, only one output can connect to a given input, but many output, yeah, an input can connect to many outputs. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Should probably be one to many. Okay, but not many to one. There you go. Are enforced as being and I've gone backwards again. Right, output video streams to input video streams are enforced as being one to many. Yes. Okay. But yeah, okay, and not many to one. Okay. Perfect. So holy line length, Captain, you know. Anyway, that's that done. And that's signal ball done. So I think we've wrapped all of the stuff we needed. I don't like this, personally. I think this is kind of ass and annoying. And right, I'm like assuming things in my variable names. You know, which I think, seeing as I'm the only dev, it's maybe reasonable to think I'd follow it. But also maybe not. So I think we should maybe think about how to enforce that. I suppose we could just throw another error. That might be a bit ugly. I think I might do a cheeky little bit of inheritance and make two inheritors of this that have their connection type already set, right? Cool, like df signal ball output, df signal ball input. I suppose that would be the way to like properly enforce it. And then I guess there's some way. Yeah, I guess there's some way of just like making this not compile. Yeah. You can just have a ready, right? That throws an error. Just say like, don't use this class on its own, and then override the ready and remove that throwing of the error in the inheritors. Which, you know, which I think would be a fine way of doing it. And maybe quite prudent. So we have a ball signal, which every time you update the ball, it updates the ball it's connected to. Okay. And this, which is a video stream, which is literally just when you connect it, it connects the thing. And when you disconnect it, it disconnects the thing. There's no other logic other than that. Okay. So, I mean, CCTV we have to deal with in a second. But we also needed to do that. Yes. Right, we have to do this, which is kind of fine. Okay, and we are actually going to need this. I'm not going to think too much about whether this is needed or not. I'm just going to put it in. I think it is needed. I don't know. Okay. all, right? Oh, I suppose, yeah. If we want to be consistent with what we've already done, we should do this here, right? And then, right, we have exactly the same logic in this. Yeah, we do. Right. Okay, and we are. Yeah, cool. It's kind of weird as like half a pixel there where it actually highlights the correct thing. Delete the behavior, delete the visuals. Cool. We don't have to hold any refs anymore. I just need a disconnection map. Perfect. Okay. Good. I think both of the behavior for them is implemented. Yeah, the behavior is definitely not implemented, but we'll get onto that later. So, for one thing, let's go to light switch. Actually, that might be relatively complicated. Yeah, let's definitely not go to that light switch. Okay. I think this will be a little bit simpler, right? To understand. It's because I made it private in iSignal, right? Is it iSignal? This might not even be needed, right? I think this actually might be wholly equivalent to doing inheritance with an abstract class in this case, because I don't think we'll ever need to use iSignal on its own. No, that's completely wrong because I'm in this bubble of doing stuff specifically. As soon as we get over here and have to fix this stuff, we will need iSignal. Okay, yeah, cool. Good job I didn't go ahead with that and delete it all. So, where were we? CCTV, right? I don't know, maybe it's just being dumb. Yeah, it is. Cool. Oh, because I was searching connection and it was going, there's nothing because it's an act. Yeah, okay, connect output to input. Okay. Cool, that's fine. Yeah, I think that is fine. Genuinely is fine. We might also need, yes, I think we might need to pad out iSignal a bit. For example, we might need a function that returns is connected to an input in order for the interaction raycast to know what it means to toggle a connection, right? Okay. So we can move this to be this. Like that. Cool, perfect. And I'm going to remove this for now. Right, okay, connect output to an input. Right, I think that should be errorless there. And I think this initialization, as it were, I'm going to have to yeah, I'm going to have to move to, I should encapsulate it in here, right, is what I'm saying. I should also just remember that I should change my overlay to timeout because message fades after what? I don't know, 2 minutes or something. Cool. And now I'm pretty sure that should just remove them. Yeah, it did. Cool. Because, yeah, makes for a bad stream. Okay. Amazing. Okay, what are the two things that are erroring? There's only 2 classes now, which maybe we've been putting off, but fine. And I think that Hackervision, a lot of this behavior connection type is less accessible. And that errors. Okay, well, it's completely unnecessary in a second. Delete that. So, 100% we should yeah, I think we can implement this function as well in our iSignal. So yeah, I think everything's the same, right? Other than this bit. And this is the only thing that needs to be changed, right? And we can just do like a dictionary search. Yeah, sure. So maybe not most efficient, but I think it's fine for now. So what we can do is we can say we also need a public void, right? Toggle connection to. And I'm gonna carry on with that convention. Okay, perfect. And there we go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say like, if output is connected to input already, then disconnect it. Okay, else connect it. Which actually I think is really, really easy. And actually might make this completely unnecessary, but I can just do var this, right? Ah, yeah, okay. So var disconnection entry equals, yeah, and we have to, so this is where the casts come involved. So I think actually this might be the only function needed to reference iSignal. I think the others might be able to reference the implementers of the interface, which will be a little bit nicer. Okay. So we can do something like this. Okay, and we can say if disconnection entry is not null, right, then we do disconnection entry, we just run it and return. Okay, else we, right, this is like a dictionary lookup is 01, right? I'm just interested now. Why is accessing an element of a dictionary by key 01, even though the hash function may not be 01? Okay, so it's hash. Cool. That's maybe I could have guessed. Anyway, else, right, we connect output to inputs. Cool. So yeah, actually, I think that it's a good point about signals. I don't think this ever needs to be exposed. I think this is the only thing that needs to be exposed by the interface. which is kind of nice in hindsight. And yeah, just trying to think about disconnection map, right? I suppose. No, right? What does disconnect exactly? This dictionary is using an implementer of iSignal, so can't place it into the interface. Which is kind of a shame. I guess I just have to copy paste this everywhere. You know, when I say everywhere, I mean to like 5 classes maximum. Cool. I suppose, yeah, if I want like a generic accessor, then, you know, why am I complaining? Okay. So now, I think this is really, really easy. Literally just do output.toggle input. Right? And just all of this shit can go away. Oh, okay. Do that. Do that. Oops. Okay, and this should be current output done. Right, okay, and I'm actually going to move this into the... No, I think that... Cool. Yeah. So we kind of know that that error will never occur when we're in the function, right? Because we're like hard checking the types. So, you know, I think it's pretty safe. Like, I don't know. I kind of dislike the casting that's going on everywhere, but I'm pretty sure, like I said, we can remove this and this. So we only have one cast. Yeah, I suppose that's reasonable. Wait, do I have any add-ons in? No. Oh, no, I do. Oh, I do. Okay, yeah. Kind of an unnecessary comment, but oh well. Okay. So that's fine. And we've completely removed the need for lists in Hackervision. We've completely removed the need for a connection class that has generic typing, or for a connection class that doesn't have generic typing, because the iSignals themselves are dealing with connections by storing them in a dictionary, right? And actually I think it's pretty neat how that's working, and that's not crazily complicated. I think it's somewhat intuitive, and it's kind of synonymous with what we were trying to do last time, but it works with Godot, doesn't have over-engineered generic typing, and uses an interface instead of inheriting from generic classes. Or inheriting from a generic class interface, which was even stupider. Although I did try to do that again today. But anyway. Basically, I suspect everything here that's erroring can just be removed, because I don't think we need any of it now. Right, like this isn't needed. Okay. That isn't needed. Cinema. Okay. All those errors gone in like 2 seconds. Okay. So, let's see if it builds. If it builds, then I'll commit it. And we'll fix all the stuff. Okay. It doesn't build. That's fine. Just before I forget, okay? Can remove unnecessary casts from iSignal inheritors. And also and also unnecessary definitions of create and of connect and disconnect in iSignal. We'll leave them there for now, okay, for like the next 5 minutes while I do this. Okay, and it was also simplified light switch, right? The two things that actually use this. And also simplified spotlight. So it wasn't the definers of the data that I forgot, it was the users of the data. We simplified spotlight. Okay. So, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, write that down before I forget. Right, okay, also need to define a meaningful way to initialize connections. Okay. Yes, I need to define a meaningful way to initialize connections. I do. Okay, so now we can fix this. And unfortunately, that kind of means I have to deal head on with initializing connections. Maybe a bit stupid, but that's fine. This was an attempt to initialize connections, which is a bad attempt. And yes. Right, so like, oh, also, yeah, I can delete video stream as well. It's just a useless class. Okay, what does this do? Right, this is the sub viewport input into, yeah, like the input node, okay, that will connect a sub viewport that stores a reference to a sub viewport. Yes. I think this now finally might differentiate how things work, because when we change, yeah, we do need a non-value changed. Every time the value changes, we want to independently be able to say, okay, this should change. Yes. So we do need on value changed, right? The same as this, right? Not for any iSignal implementation, but because of that, right? So yeah, and I think that's a good point actually. Right, so the input needs to have an on value change, but the output doesn't, right? Which is why I'm thinking there's like a differentiation there between the inputs and outputs. Yeah. So we actually do need this kind of accessor, right? Let me just write that here. Okay, so like inputs need an on value changed, change signal sent, right? Outputs don't in this current system. Right? There's this stupid way of doing it, I don't know. Wait, what? I don't know. Why can't I do this? Right? Like, why can't I do this? I can. Okay, cool. Right. I assume Godot throws an error if you try to do null.getPath. Maybe we should be, right. It's just probably texture is null. Okay. Right, that's allowed. Oh, okay. It's kind of implicitly needing that to be an argument. Interesting. Is it? What? Do you want to? Oh, delegate action doesn't take one. Yeah, because this doesn't take any arguments. Yeah. And right there, now we have another issue. Okay. Let's deal with the simplified spotlight first, because it's much more obvious what we need it to do. Right. Perfect. Kind of actually already solved what I was thinking, but on value changed is generic, but it's not anymore, is it? The only users of the generic thing is the interact array cost, right? The specific things which reference a type are completely fine. And we have the types available, so actually we can go back to what this was doing, and it was invoking it with value, right? Okay, and this should be an action ball. Perfect, and this should be an action sub viewport. Okay, and maybe this should be renamed to be value or something, I don't know. Okay, just to make it a little bit more readable, and yeah, should also do that. Perfect. So yeah, so what.value is value, right? So let's have like all v, right? Just to make it a little bit more like that, okay? And that's this on value change, so it's invoking it to the correct value. I believe that's correct. Okay, so now this gives you our sub viewport v. Okay, and now we can get rid of this, and we can get rid of this, okay, and yeah. Is this a non-nullable type? No, it isn't. Okay, yes. So now, exactly, viewport texture. Oh, is it texture? I just want to understand in Sprite 3D, right? Sprite 3D. What is this called? It is called texture. Interesting. Okay. Texture equals new viewport texture. Right. Okay, or you go texture equals null and you return. Cool. Yep. And now, same as this, should be removed. VS Code would run at a reasonable rate. We might get Something happened. Perfect. So now let's see if it builds once again. It does. Perfect. So I think we were on a whip commit. And you know what? I have no clue what that commit did, and I don't want to know. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to go convert df signals to implement an interface. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So make that interface more minimal than before. The previous df signal t. Okay. That was maybe a bit of a. Okay, and attach everything there. Cool. What even is this branch? It's add simplified devices. Okay. That's well scoped. That's fine. So that now does something. Or at least the architecture now is a lot more clear in my head. What's happening, what it's doing, and why. However, I think that's still... Okay, let's go to our notes. Okay. This is done. Okay, I'm not going to remove anything at the moment. Okay. That isn't done. That isn't done. Okay, this is fine, right? This is done at the moment. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. To me, this is kind of the last stand, right? Everything after this is just removing unnecessary bloat. Okay, the actual issue that our code does not include is a meaningful way to initialize connections. Simples. So, how do we do that? Okay, that is the question. So, maybe we should go, let's just have a little draft out here, what we want it to do. So, for example, Spotlight 3D. Yes, so physically, a spotlight, whether you've loaded into the level or not, right? In the real world, a light always follows what the light switch does that it's connected to, right? I suppose we can actually like implement parallel electrics here by just saying visible is not visible, right? So whenever you change a light switch, right, the visibility changes independently of what's being sent to it, which is the real world, right? If you have two light switches in a home, you know, doesn't matter which one of them's on or off. The rule is if you switch one of them, it turns the other one, it turns the light to be the opposite of what it is. Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, we can actually leave that like that. This only works though if you have good initialization. So for example, our spotlight, right? It needs to, right? Like I think the issue I was having is ideally this would happen, right? Before we initialized all the connections between outputs to inputs. And then all the outputs would run, and every output would just actually fire this signal, right? By going input.value equals output.value, right? And then you would settle on the most recent inputs value, right? So in the case of a one-to-one input, which is like 99% of them, you would just get a reasonable thing. But the problem is this is on a ready. Yeah, so maybe I have done this backwards. Basically, what we want to do is so things which use an input need to be initialized. Okay, so we have to get 1, okay, I suppose, or 0 of the outputs that connect to this input. Okay, and set this input value to be the output's value. Okay, and update anything which uses this input appropriately. Okay, so I think I actually might be I don't tend to do it, but I know it's like a valid thing to do, right? I think I might be caught using autofat here to do what I'm setting out here. But we can only do this after all outputs initial values have been set. Right. So just want to double check my logic here. On value changed only appears after input. Yes, that is true. In that previous commit, when did I? What are the other differences, right? Well, I mean, the asymmetry I've just spoken about above, so yeah. Yes. So I think I think it's kind of clear now what to do. I think it's pretty clear what to do at least. Basically you just test in the ready of all I signals. Currently we just only have 2. If it's an input or an output. If it's an input and it has a value already set within it on ready, we just warn the user that that won't do anything. If it's an output, okay, then we have, and there's nothing set as its initial value, then we also warn the user because an output has to have an initial value, right? Okay, because physically it's connected to a device physically. Okay. Yes, I think that works. And then, so your output's initial values are exported within the Godot editor, okay, and the level designer should make sure that that aligns with the level. Yep. And then finally, on call deferred, we go, right, so what I think we'll have to do is when we toggle a connection. When do we toggle connections? Amazing question. So we never do, right? Right now, there's nothing in ready. Okay, so it's a clean slate for us to work with. Okay, this should be in a more generic class. Let's move this to iSignal. Okay, maybe it should be in a file of its own, but it's fine for now. So nothing happens on ready at the moment. So yep. Yeah. So I think I will just switch, or just if else on the connection type enum, just to see if this logic actually does work. If that works, I'm going to refactor everything that I've put in notes that we need to delete, and I'll delete it. If that then works, then I'll just make 2 very small classes which inherit from video stream and bool, one of which is an output, one of which is an input, okay, and removing the need for connection type completely, okay, and it'll be a lot cleaner, right? The outputs will already have an exported variable which sets their initial value, and the inputs won't have that on call deferred. They'll find or be told about a relevant output that is sent to them and have their initial value set, and or have no value set. Okay. Very complicated way of saying we're on the right path. Okay. I just want to see if this runs. You know, obviously it's not going to work. It does run. Okay, nice. And this still does something. Oh, that's surprising. Why does that do something? Oh, I suppose because, yeah, nothing to do with this. But this... What? I'm dumbfounded. The exports, right? I didn't... That's kind of cool in a way. That's true. Oh, I suppose, yeah. Maybe. Oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't be that surprised that that worked. Because, like I just said, nothing's happening on ready. So, let me just write down what I wrote. What I said. Okay, on ready, outputs should take an exported initial value and set that to be their thing. Okay, and then one frame later, slash, you know, after all outputs have done that, okay, all inputs should find a relevant output, if any, and update their value to be the output's value, right? Okay, so like a relevant connected output. Okay. Cool. That's so it. No? I think that my bool class was just doing something stupid, right? Yeah, I think it was. It'd be nice to have a ternary. No, what is it? A qubit. A qubit. Be nice to have a qubit instead of a bit for our bool. Nice to have a nullable type. Wait, we can make the bool nullable. We can make the bool nullable, right? That's allowed. I wonder how does a nullable bool behave? Does it behave as 0 being null? Right? A nullable bool. Nullable bool. C#. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's possible. It functions like a 3-optioned bool, but if both operands are null of the equality operator, then the result's true. So it kind of would probably lead to some kind of backwards behavior. If only one of the operands is null, the result's false. Otherwise, the contained values are compared. Anyway, we don't need that. It was an interesting kind of thing, nonetheless. Okay. So, yeah, I think what I was saying was set current values to be equal, right? Because I never had this logic before, right? Input value should be the output value, right? Kind of makes sense. Okay. Right. So that works. And now I'm thinking, if this is our precedent, and it's the same here, right? That's all this does. Well, this doesn't do anything. Connect output to. Have I just been stupid? Right? If input value is not null, right? Right? Like we don't do this. Input of value equals value. Right? Okay, so like, you know, like this is effectively for this node implementing the behavior. Okay, and then implement visuals. Okay, and then define the reverse of this connection. Okay, aka a disconnection. Now, if on ready, all of the inputs are used by spotlights, by monitors, right? Be simplified, cool, perfect. Okay. Right, we have this thing that's running on ready. So that should just be run, okay? And then call deferred should be run to link the outputs to the inputs, right? So all of the source devices, right? Of which this is doing literally nothing, okay? Is iSimplified device used ever to compare anything? No. Okay, yeah. Right. Basically, I think what I'm saying in a very tired and annoyed voice is that if I just call deferred the connections that need to be initialized, it's fine, right? Then what will happen is all the inputs will be set to be their relevant thing. Simples. Okay. So all we have to do, I'm pretty sure, is in simplified light switch. Okay. Right, exactly. This connection should be called deferred. That's it. You know, like name of initialize. Okay. And exactly the same in monitor. Sorry. In CCTV, right, we define our connections, but really this is what we want to do. Okay, get rid of this and get rid of this. Okay. And then, now, all that matters, okay, we can go back to our simplified spotlight. So now, currently, all linked to inputs will have their value overwritten by the defined outputs. Puts, you know, one frame after all the inputs have been connected to their relevant logic. Perfect. Okay, so now we can build this. Okay, inputs, literally, like I've just said, have there. If you have an input, it needs no initial value, right? I'm going to write that because it's going to be useful in 2 years when I look at this again. Okay. Inputs need no initial value set on ready. Okay. All outputs need an initial value set. So value exported. Exported from, yeah, okay, in the editor. Outputs. Okay. Okay. Do not need an initial. Do need. There you go. I don't know why I'm rebuilding a text file, but anyway, the output from switch, right? Wait, what? Yeah, okay. So that's exactly what I've done, right? Okay, is now I've missed that. I should go export, private, bool, initial value. And there's no ready, right? Which is completely fine, right? So now what you do is you set the value to this. Okay, this should definitely be private. And it should be do not touch. Okay, and same here. I assume that this isn't. Yeah, this is private. Okay, what am I doing? Do not touch after initialization. Yes, exactly. This works. I think this works, and my brain is confused because this on value change is doing like 3 different roles. I think this is now correct. So this will now be exported as a value, right? Okay, and this value will be returning this. And then, for example, our monitor on ready, okay, will exactly have connect its on value changed, right? And then what's going to happen is CCTV is going to connect the output, and that's going to force the value to update, right? Okay. And in fact, we should actually enforce that. We should probably enforce this do not, because if an input happened to have the same reference value, for example, the same sub viewport, then this wouldn't trigger on value changed, right? Maybe that's a kind of mute point that doesn't mean anything, but yeah. The output from switch, let's just say it's defaulted to be on. Okay, and input to light doesn't matter, doesn't mean anything. Okay, and we have our things, and we have an output from a switch, right? Right, and our light switch exactly defines the connection for us, or calls the function which will define the connection for us, and its initial state is now completely useless, right? Right, okay, this is now, I'm just, now defined by the relevant output node. Boom. Okay, cool. And it wasn't used anyway. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So that's a user of the thing, and there's one other user, right, which is this monitor, which has our input, and also an input into monitor. Shouldn't have a value. And finally, our output from CCTV. So now our output, yeah, relevant output. The output, indeed, right, should be CCTV output. Okay, now, I think this will work. Let's see. Let's watch this completely crash and burn. There's no errors. all connection defined well. Okay, that doesn't show anything, amazing. This is defaulted to on, perfect. We can do that, we can do that, and now this doesn't do anything. We can do that. Okay, we have some errors. The given key was not present in the dictionary. Oh, so it key not found. Okay. That's me not understanding how to use dictionaries more than anything, but I'm interested as to why this is connected, but it doesn't show a thing. Interesting. So, let me check. The monitor, exactly. The input into monitor doesn't have a value. No, it doesn't. Good. Now, I want to see something else, right? Yes, that key not found, right? So I think I can search for like this. Should uniquely identify that. Disconnect should be fine, right? But our connect, right? Like our disconnect throwing an error is actually correct because we expect, you know, if we're disconnecting, we're toggling, and it should be that, right? So I think there'll be a link queue method for this, right? Which is actually we do like try get value. Okay, so now we can say if not okay, so this returns false if it doesn't contain the key. Right, so if it doesn't contain the key, wrong. Okay, if the output is connected to the input, remove it, right? Else connect to it, yeah. That's the correct way. Okay, so nothing changed there. Perfect. Now, and did you see that? Oh, I want to see that as well. It was off, and then we connected it, and it turned it on, yay. Although maybe with my visible equals not visible logic, we should change that, but oh well, it's fine. And now we can disconnect that. Now any one of them does something, right? We can disconnect that. And now none of them do anything, perfect. So that's great. Now I'm just confused. Let's see. It gave me an error. Let's read what the error is. I didn't do anything. It's an output to an input. Output, input. Okay, so right click isn't do anything. That's bad. So oh, okay. I can kind of see why that is. Right? Because current output was never being reset. Okay. Now this should at least disconnect us, right? Yeah. Right, and it printed that it's null. But that didn't work. Cannot access a dispose DF video stream 62. Okay. 62. Don't know why that's happening, but I'm interested as to why it doesn't work in the first place, right? This output from CCTV, right, has a sub viewport here. Um, yeah. So I'm interested as to why that doesn't work. So we have this input. We have our output from CCTV, and our CCTV itself connects to both. So let's see. Does that change anything? No. So I guess really, this should is not null. Perfect. And it has shown the connection, but it doesn't update that. That's weird. So I don't understand that at all. As to why a sprite 3D, right? Like why? So I go viewport texture, and I assign that, and it shows it to me, right? No, maybe I'll just look it up. Godot viewport texture that at runtime doesn't load it. So I can't find anything as to why it wouldn't work. What I'm confused at is like why this comes up onto Sprite 3D, but this texture, oh, it is Sprite 3D, yeah. Let me just print this. What? Now let's see. This is actually the correct type. Cool, perfectly is. Godot create viewport texture at runtime. Let's print this as well, why not? Once I've done this, I think I'll be done for the day. Oops, that's gonna launch on the wrong monitor. Oh well. Yeah, seems to connect to the right things. But yeah, I don't understand. It is a valid viewport texture. Let's run it and have a little look at the remote. Oops. Let's do it this way. And yeah, so I want to have a look at museum. I want to have a look at the monitor. I want to have a look at this. Right, so it just says object ID. Okay, and this is a remote viewport texture. Right, with the viewport path to that. Right, like I don't see why that's different. That doesn't make any sense to me as to why that wouldn't then. Right, we have like CCTV output from CCTV output, you know, looking like that. So what's the difference? I do not know. But I think I'm gonna end the stream. I think I'm pretty much done for the day. So yeah, that's finished.